Hello, this is Bob Gray Sr. Welcome to Ministry Moments. Lord willing, every Friday at 3 o'clock Central Time, I'll be coming to you with this broadcast, and I hope that you find it to be a blessing. And again, if you want to go to Ministry Moments YouTube and subscribe, you'll get this automatically every week. Also, solvechurchproblems.com. If you go there and subscribe, then you'll get this every week through Solve Church Problems. All right, get your pen out, get ready to take some notes here. My chair's sliding on me here. I want to talk to you today about preaching hard without being hard. Preaching hard without being hard. Some of the best pulpiteers were those who were, how do we say, hard preaching, direct preaching, old school preaching. Dr. John Rollins, old school. Lester Roloff, old school. Harold Seidler, old school. J. Harold Smith, old school. And their preaching, some would say that it's hard. But B.R. Lakin said to me in Crete, Illinois, First Baptist Church of Crete, Illinois, here's what he said to me at lunch. He said, son, put some orange juice in that casserole. Because the way you preach and I preach, they're going to need some relief during the middle of the sermon. But preaching hard without being hard. You don't want to let up on truth. You don't want to let up on getting truth across. And a monotone preacher is not going to accomplish as much as someone who's just bit on what he's doing. He just flat in love with what he's doing, and he's got to get it across. And you can tell he's got ants in his pants. He's got to get it across. So I want to talk to you about preaching hard without being hard. Now, I'm accused of being a hard preacher. I understand that. But I do think there's some things that I did that did work, and some things that Brother House did, and these other great men did, Don Malone and others. So here we go. Preaching hard without being hard. Number one, remember, Satan is your enemy. Satan is your enemy. Never make the congregation the adversary. They are not your enemy. That deacon's not your enemy. Those backslidden church members are not your enemy. The devil is your enemy. And the thing you're fighting his wiles, and we're not ignorant of his devices. We better expose his devices. So Satan is your enemy. Now, if you're just really eat up with doing right and winning souls and Holy Ghost power and separation of the world, you can't help it. It's going to leak out. And when it does, you need to make sure that you understand, you can comprehend this and you grasp it, that congregation is not your enemy. Satan is your enemy. That's the one that you're fighting with, all right? Principalities and powers on high. Number two, preaching is a team effort. You've got to remember that preaching is a team effort. I pitch the ball out, they catch it and pitch it back. Preaching is a team effort. We are a team together. We are on the same team. So preaching is a team effort. Very important to remember. I'm talking about preaching hard without being hard. Number three, repetition is the secret. Repetition is the secret. If you can go back your thoughts in your sermon and go back, number one, number two, number three, and then say it and get them to repeat it to you. That's an effective tool, especially if you're a hard preacher. So you want to remember, Satan is your enemy, not the congregation. Don't create an adversarial thing between you and the congregation you're preaching to. Number two, preaching is a team effort. I need response back. I want response back. It's a team effort. Now, if you preach to people that just don't respond, then that's them. But that doesn't mean that you lose your fire. Don't depend on them, but try to help them. When I get them to repeat something, I'm trying to help them, not me. I'm not trying to help me. All right. So number one, Satan is your enemy. Don't forget that. Number two, preaching is a team effort. You and the people are working together. Number three, they're not the enemy. Okay, you got it? Three, repetition is the secret. If you look back at some of the preaching of Brother Hiles, there's repetition. I use a lot of repetition, because I want you to speak it back to me. It'll get stuck in your head if you'll do that. And it's a great tool, The inability to be repetitious is a failure. It's failing as a preacher. The ineffectiveness is there, it exists. Repetition is the secret, is the key. Next, leave them with hope. I don't care how tough the sermon is. I don't care how it is. At the final end, you can say to them, you can do this. You can do this. You can win souls. You can do this. If you preach real hard on soul winning or prayer, you can do this. Or separation of the world. You can do this. And plus, negative, negative, plus is always the format that I follow, the philosophy that I follow. Plus, negative, negative, plus. Start out with a plus, deal with what I got to deal with, but at the end, I'm going to leave them hope. Same with counseling. When you walk out, I don't care how bad it is, when you walk out of my office, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. You can do whatever it is you need to do. All right. Preaching hard without being hard. Number one, Satan is your enemy. Not that. Don't make that congregation your adversary. Number two, preaching is a team effort. We're trying to build a team here. And then repetition is the secret. And then leave them with hope. Number five, view the sinner as a victim. I know we don't like this thing of anyone being a victim, but listen carefully. If you will view, I'm talking about you, the preacher, as you're preaching, view the sinner as a victim. Satan is trying to hurt every saint that he can. And he uses the flesh, Romans chapter 7, over flesh versus the spirit. That battle is going on every day. And then sometimes our own church members get knocked out or knocked down. But when they do, don't try to kill them. Don't stomp on them while they're down. We in the Army, what do? We don't kill our wounded. No, we try to bring them back, get them patched up, and put them back in the battle. All right? View the sinner as a victim. Satan is our enemy, not that guy who fell. He's not our enemy. Well, that guy did something awful wicked. Well, so have you. They just don't know about it. Number one, Satan is your enemy. Number two, preaching is a team effort. Number three, repetition is the secret to it. Number four, leave them with hope. Number five, view the sinner as a victim. Patch him up. You know, when there's a head-on collision at a four-way stop, the EMS people don't come in and say, who caused this? Who caused this? You did? I'm not going to treat you. I'm going to treat the other guy. They don't do that. Everybody's a victim. Whether you caused the accident or didn't cause the accident, you're a victim of the collision. So please view the sinner as I'm talking about preaching hard without being hard. Number six, preach hard against outside influence. If you've got a struggle going on the inside, preach against abortion. Preach against socialism, communism. Preach something outside. Man, you got to rally those troops sometime. And sometimes it's just better, instead of you beating them about all the things they're doing wrong, why don't you beat on the world for a minute? I remember one time my mama, God bless her memory, I remember the old American Baptist denomination, Twin Sunday School Church. This sounds terrible, but the pastor and the deacons go out on the front porch, smoke cigarettes. And then after a while, the teenagers got slipping off, going to the car, and they started smoking cigarettes. And then they'd get on to me, pick at me because I didn't go with them. I'm scared. So one day I slipped out, went to the bathroom, slipped out, went back, sat in the back seat of a car. And these teenagers passing this one cigarette around. The driver passed the guy in the middle, the guy on the passenger side, and he turned around and handed it to me. Well, I was just about ready to reach out and grab that cigarette when that back door opened, and my mama reached in and grabbed me by the head of the hair and yanked me out of there and beat me all the way around, going back into the auditorium for preaching. We had to take a break, you know. And she stopped and she looked at the pastor and said, shame on you. And she looked at the deacons there and said, shame on you. You got your teenagers back there smoking in the car because this is a bad example. You said, shame on you. And I remember rubbing my bottom and saying, get them, mama, get them, mama. I loved it when she went after them. So I'm just saying, sometimes you got to preach hard against outside influences. You can't just keep beating all the time with some dead horse, something that's already happened. They already know it happened. They already know it's wrong. And you're not careful. But this is just, I'm talking about how to preaching hard without being hard. All right. Next, build a team spirit. Build it. The two churches I pastored, to me, we were a team. We were a team. Yes, we were. And I built a team spirit. Nothing like being a member of Longview Baptist Temple. Nothing like being a member of Faith Baptist Church. It was a team spirit that I wanted to build. And thank God, I loved it. I would say when I'd see our ladies downtown in modest dresses, I loved it. I loved it when I'd see our teenage girls in modest dresses. I love it. I love it. I love it. So I'm saying build a team spirit. Then number 8, last point. Aren't you proud of me? This is the last point. If you cannot get them to laugh, you cannot get to them. Don't miss this. If you cannot get them to laugh, you cannot get to them. Listen, the preaching is like that water heater. The pressure, pressure, pressure. That's why they got that escape valve on the top. Every once in a while, it's got every once in a while. The best thing to do is laugh at yourself. Self-deprecating. Yeah, laugh at yourself. Something happens during the week, laugh about it. But use illustrations in the middle of your sermon somewhere to let that pressure off. Because you can't, if you quit preaching hard, let me tell you something. When Paul they got on an aisle and they built that fire, and a snake came out and a viper bit Paul, and he just shook it off. It didn't mean anything to him. Threw it down. They thought he was a god. But preaching hard is like that fire. I like that fire. And I promise you, snakes are going to come out and they're going to bite you, but they ain't going to hurt you. I remember the house saying one time, we preached in a church. If I named the church, you older guys would know who it is. But I remember preaching with them for several years, and in the car, and I said to him, I'm not sure I should have said it, but I said to him, there's something different. The preacher's not the same. And he looked at me and said, the pastor's lost his bite. He's lost his bite. And he said, when you lose your bite, you lose everything. I never forgot that. Never forgot that. And pretty soon that church became enamored with the Southern Baptist Convention and so on. My point being, preaching hard without being hard is a reality. It can be done. So Satan is your enemy. Preaching is a team effort. Pitch it to them, get them to pitch it back. Repetition is the secret. Leave them with hope. View the sinner as a victim. Preach hard against outside influence. Rail about it. Rail about it. Build a team spirit. If you cannot get them to laugh, you cannot get to them. You've got to get there. Like B.R. Lakin said to me, put some orange juice in that castor oil, boy. And he was right. God bless you. Ministry Moments every week. Not long, but I think it'll be of help and a blessing to you. God bless you. We'll see you next week, 3 o'clock Central Time, every Friday. Ministry Moments. God bless you.